Okay, guys, welcome to our 251. Just kidding. I saw you guys. Welcome to the nursing informational session. What we're going to be covering today, we have a little bit that I want to talk about, and that is basically everything you could possibly ask for as it relates to getting into the nursing program at HACC. So this is a presentation that's for those of you that aren't currently in the program, but you're thinking about it. And as we go through this, I'm going to be covering information that talks about what programs we offer, how to get into the programs, what the costs are, a little bit of everything. So we're actively in an admission cycle right now. So hopefully some of you guys, you'll find this very helpful as you think about whether you're ready to apply to the nursing program. We do have two of our current students with us today, which I greatly appreciate. So as we go through this information and we pause to ask questions and other things, I want you to know that they are here and able to answer your questions as well. So as you can see, Elizabeth and Daisy are here, and they are currently 250 in the traditional program. So they do represent some of our current students just getting ready to graduate in May. So I'm very thankful they're here as well. I also have Sierra Shirk here with me. She is one of our nursing program specialists, and she's going to help to answer questions in chat. So feel free to put questions in the chat box if you want to. And also, I'm going to pause quite frequently to ask you guys for questions. And if you guys want, you can ask them that way too, whatever's easiest for you. I am recording this session simply so that we can make a posting to the HACC nursing page so that more people can benefit that maybe couldn't be here today because of scheduling conflicts or something like that. I want them to get good information also. So that's kind of the plan for right now. So that's where we're headed. I do have a PowerPoint presentation that Ms. Shirk sent out to you guys that we're going to cover. If you did not get a copy, just put your email address in the chat box, and she'll happily send you a copy of this. So everything I'm covering, you guys will have access to, the links, the everything. I don't want you guys to feel like you have to write down every page or take a picture of every screenshot or something like that. You guys can have this PowerPoint, so you'll have all the information. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen, and we'll go through a little bit of information, and hopefully you guys will find it helpful. Okay, so this is what we're going to be going through, this PowerPoint here. And again, it's something where you guys should have access to this. And if you need a copy, just let Ms. Shirk know. Okay, so HACC nursing, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide other than to let you know that while HACC has multiple campuses, and we're going to talk about that, the nursing program itself views itself as one nursing program. So what that means is the courses you take on Gettysburg would be identical to the courses you take on Lancaster or Harrisburg. Obviously, there might be different faculty teaching them, but it is one college and therefore one program. All right, and we're going to look at both the associate degree program as well as the practical nursing program. All of that is overseen by the dean. Mrs. Ullman is our dean. And then we also have a nursing department chair as well, and that's currently Mrs. Donnell. And so we kind of have a hierarchy of administration, but as it relates to the nursing program, we are all one program and we all work together to keep that consistency. So you guys are here because you're interested in being a nurse. Most of you probably understand to some degree what a nurse does. You might have a family member that is a nurse. You might have had exposure to nurses growing up, or maybe you work in the hospital currently as an aide or a tech or something like that, even as an LPN potentially. And so you do have some exposure, but really, there are two pathways into the nursing field. There is the practical nurse, and there is the registered nurse. And I'm going to spend just a second or two in a slide just talking about some of the differences. But ultimately, those are really your two pathways. As it relates to the practical nurse, it's a certificate that you earn at the end of the program. HACC does offer a practical nursing certificate, which can lead to your licensure. They also have a pathway for registered nursing, and registered nursing you can get to through a diploma program. through an associate degree program or a bachelor's degree program. Obviously at HACC, we currently offer the associate degree program of the 3 options there, but regardless of which program you attend, whether it be your college or a diploma program or HACC, you ultimately become licensed as a registered nurse. So everyone who attends one of those programs and graduates and passes licensure has the title of RN. If you're interested, after becoming an RN, you can elevate and escalate your education and become a nurse practitioner or a nurse anesthetist or a nursing midwife or something like that. And each of those steps in terms of higher education do lead you with, of course, greater pay and opportunities for more advanced practice. So the horizon is pretty wide open once you get your degree as a nurse. There's a lot of different opportunities for work after graduation. So in terms of the difference between a registered nurse and an LPN or a licensed practical nurse, they have a lot of the same scope of practice to some degree, but at the end of the day, there is a difference. They both take a licensure exam, but obviously the registered nurse is the RN and the practical nurse is the PN. The RN is going to be more of a manager of the care of clients. They're going to oversee not only potentially other RNs, but licensed practical nurses as well as aides. They have a little more responsibility. They are charged with assessing patients, creating a plan of care or a care plan for patients. They're evaluating and educating patients. And when there is a difference in a more acutely ill patient, a sicker patient, then of course those are going to be given to the registered nurses. There is a higher level of education in the registered nursing program, as well as a higher level of scope of practice, and obviously with that a higher level of pay. The practical nurse is a nurse. They do give medications, they do care for individuals, but they have a little lower scope of practice. There's some things they can't do in the state of Pennsylvania that RNs can. They do tend to care for more stable patients, and they're part of the care team. They don't have as much independence as the registered nurse does. So when you're thinking about being a nurse, just realize that it is a STEM profession, meaning it kind of falls within that science, technology, engineering, and math section. So a lot of the things that would make you good at any STEM profession are needed in nursing. You need to have good communication skills and reading skills. You have to have a certain proficiency in math. There is calculations that we do to make sure that we're giving our medication safely. So you do need to understand some math. Obviously, the biological sciences like anatomy, physiology, and microbiology become very important. And almost everything we do now with clients involves computers. So you do need a basic computer proficiency. Obviously, you're going to learn as you go, but these things are things that we look at and say these are important to nursing and to the skill and practice of nursing. So at HACC, there are some programs we offer. We have 4 campuses that currently offer nursing programs. There are some courses you can take at the Lebanon campus, like your Englishes and other things, but the Lebanon campus does not offer nursing as a program, but the other 4 campuses do. And there are 3 campuses currently that offer the PN program. You notice that the Gettysburg campus currently does not have a PN program at it, but the Harrisburg, Lancaster, and York do. Now, as far as the RN program goes, we offer a variety of pathways to become an RN. And what I mean by that is not the courses themselves. Each of these options takes the same courses, but how they take those courses, whether they last for 6 weeks during the semester or whether they last for the entire semester, and how long the program unfolds, what days of the week you go to class and clinical, they vary depending on which of these programs you enter. And I'm going to talk about later when you apply for a nursing program, or you make an application to become a nursing student at HACC, you are choosing to enter a program, and you're accepted into a program like the 4-semester traditional program. And when you join that program, you follow the sequencing of that program, the days of the week that they have class, the days of the week that they have clinical. That becomes your program to follow. Now, you can seek a different program if it's not a good fit for you, but you can't take different programs, classes, and clinical. You have to follow the program that you're in. So one of the programs we offer is the 4-semester traditional option. That's offered at Harrisburg, Gettysburg, and Lancaster. And we'll look at more detail about the days of the week and the schedule of each of these as we go. There are some options for 8-semester programs. So obviously a 4-semester program takes 4 semesters to complete, and 8-semester takes 8 longer to complete the program. And that's because the scheduling of the classes is a little different. There is a day option 8-semester available at York only. There is an evening option 8-semester that is offered at all 4 campuses. So that again is 8 semesters, but occurs only in the evening. And we'll look at that a little bit more. And then there is a 4-semester weekend option, and that's currently available at the Harrisburg campus only. So you can see that there are some differences in terms of the timing and even the scheduling of these different options. So when you get to class, obviously nursing class looks a little different than a more traditional biology class or English class. And if you have specific questions about that, again, we have these ladies here that have gone through an awful lot of nursing classes. But the HACC program itself is a concept-based curriculum, which means that instead of teaching you everything you need to know about every disease process and every single thing that you could possibly need to know about what's wrong with a patient and how to medically treat it, we're not training you to be physicians. That's the nursing program I went through. It's based on the medical model. A better way to train nurses is really the concept-based curriculum, which means that we're going to teach you about big concepts. Let's take the example of perfusion. Perfusion is a concept. And so when we think about perfusion, when we start you out in the early levels of the nursing program, we're going to just introduce perfusion. Now, you have had some background because of anatomy, physiology on what perfusion is, but we're going to kind of reiterate, what does perfusion look like in a patient? What do we need to have good perfusion? And when a patient has good perfusion, how are we assessing that? How can we determine whether a patient has good perfusion or not? What does bad perfusion look like? How do we know when a patient doesn't perfuse properly? And then what are some interventions that we can do as a nurse to improve a patient's perfusion? Now, by starting with that, and then giving you examples of different disease processes that affect perfusion, like a deep vein thrombosis or a DVT, or maybe a pulmonary embolus, or a dysrhythmia or something like that. By using those examples, we can further highlight the idea of poor perfusion. But the beauty of concepts is that it doesn't matter whether I'm in a poor perfusion state because of a dysrhythmia, or because of a heart attack, or because of a blood clot in my vein. The signs and symptoms and the assessment that I'm going to find in my patient, because it's poor perfusion, is going to be essentially the same. And even some of the initial treatments are going to be essentially the same. So by understanding perfusion, you are better able to take that knowledge to any single patient, even if you're not 100% sure what's going on with them. You can recognize poor perfusion and do something about it. We try to initiate some more interactive classrooms, working through case studies, working through group work in some of the classes, and trying different learning styles, videos, and PowerPoints. And so you are going to hear lecture, but you're not going to just hear straight lecture. There's likely going to be a little more interaction in these classrooms. And we do have the usage, of course, of the simulation lab as well, which now that we're kind of rounding out from COVID and getting back to campus full time, we hope to use that even more. but there are a lot of simulations and classroom experiences that we will utilize within the laboratory itself. And so there's an opportunity to train and to learn and to do your skills within a more secure and safe environment. So that's part of your learning as well. So class is a piece of what you do in nursing school. Clinical is the other. And clinical is the hands-on portion. This is where you are practicing your skills in the lab. You're practicing how to give injections and how to catheterize a person, or to do a dressing change sterilely so that you don't contaminate the wound. That's all part of the practice we initially do in the clinical lab. But then you're going to go to the hospital settings. You're going to go to the daycares and to the prison and to the different places where you're going to be caring for actual living people that are in the hospital setting or in that particular setting. And you're going to be giving medicines and doing dressing changes and all the procedures and other things, assessing these patients, because that's how you practice being a nurse, right? Is working on actual patients. So not only will you have theory and building of your knowledge, but you'll have these clinical experiences that will hopefully also shape your learning and make it easier for you to apply some of the theory pieces that you're learning. So that clinical experience goes throughout the entire program, just like the class or learning experiences do as well. All right, so I'm going to pause here for a second. Does anyone have any general questions? I'm going to get a lot more specific about some of these things here in just a little bit, but I wanted to pause here for a second. And ladies, those of you that are here to kind of just answer questions and to help out, feel free to share anything if you want about what I've shared up to this point. But any questions, any concerns? Okay. All right, well then I am going to continue moving forward, and we're going to start initially talking just a little bit about the practical nursing program and what it looks like at the HACC campuses. So as a reminder, practical nurses provide basic nursing care. They work under the direction of other nurses, whether it be registered nurses or advanced practice nurses or physicians themselves. Just about any place that you can work as a registered nurse, you can work as an LPN or a licensed practical nurse. So there's really no limit now to where you can potentially work as an LPN. As a brand new LPN, you'll likely be working rotating shifts, day, evening, evening, night, something like that. Weekends and holidays will often be a piece of your work as well. Your earning potential right now, new graduates are earning somewhere in the neighborhood of $50,000 a year. So that's a pretty good starting salary for a licensed practical nurse. Obviously, if you advance your education, going back to school to become an RN, and we'll talk about that opportunity at HACC as well, you can increase your earning quite significantly by going back to school and finishing your RN as well. So if you're thinking about HACC's PN program, just some things that I want you to be aware of. Currently, HACC's PN program does have the highest licensure pass rates in the state. We are averaging about 94% of our students pass the NCLEX on the first attempt. Our fall graduates, or our most recent graduates, those that graduated in December, and I think on the Harrisburg campus itself right now, we're at about 99% pass rate. So we have a very good LPN program that consistently has very good outcomes for its students. It's a 15-month program. It uses 4 consecutive semesters, which we'll take a look at. And in the HACC LPN program, if you decide that you want to go back for your RN, all of the classes you're taking within that LPN program automatically count towards something in the RN program. So you can stack those courses right into the RN program and join the RN program only needing 4 additional nursing courses and 4 additional gen eds to finish the RN program. So it's a very smooth and easy transition from the LPN program into the RN program, if that's something that you would like to do. We want to make it as easy as possible to continue your education should you graduate as an LPN and then maybe work for a little bit or decide that it's time to go back to school. It's a very easy transition back into the RN program. Obviously, because all of those credits are counting, it saves you money. And if you do continue back sooner than later, it can assure continued financial aid as well, so that you're not taking that time off and maybe having to start your repayments or something like that on your loans. So the time commitment for the PN program, they start in fall. So all PN programs, regardless of the campus, and again, remember Gettysburg currently doesn't have one, they all start in fall. So the next start point would be August of 2023, and they graduate in December of 2024. So it's 4 consecutive semesters. We are going fall, spring, summer, fall, 4 consecutive semesters. It is a very time-intensive program. Other than the first semester, the first fall semester, it is a 4 to 5 day a week commitment. Starting in spring, in your second semester, you'll be going to class 2 days a week, and you'll be typically in clinical 3 days a week. So combined, that is a 5 day a week commitment. So it is a very time-intensive program. You can see that in the first fall, it is a little lighter. You're really only in class about 3 hours, during the week, and that may be on a Tuesday, Thursday, or something like that. Again, the days vary by campus. But starting in that second semester, you then have class 2 days a week and clinical 3 days a week. And then in summer, because of the way we run it, it's a long Monday all day for class. And then clinical is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So again, in the summer, it's a 4 day a week commitment. In the spring, it is, and second fall, it is a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday commitment. So the PN program, you really have to look at your home life and your work schedule and your family schedule and decide whether you can commit to 4 to 5 days a week of class and clinical. So just to kind of make you aware of that. Here's a table that you'll see several times throughout this presentation. So essentially, it's a sequence of the fact that you are accepted into the program, and we'll talk about those dates in a little bit. Every program that we offer, whether RN or PN, you will see this sort of first block. You need to have finished successfully Biology 121, which is A&P1. You need to have that successfully passed prior to starting any nursing courses. So part of the requirement for getting into nursing courses will be a completion of Biology 121, in this case, in this program, by the end of summer. So graduating or finishing this course in August successfully so that you can transition and fall into the nursing courses. The nursing courses are in black, and the gen eds that the program requires are in blue. So you can see there's 5 gen eds that are required, and then there's a whole lot of nursing courses. The courses in black only are offered during these semesters. So you can't say, well, I'm a pretty good student, why can't I do all of PNR 140, 141, 142, 143, 44, and 45, especially because these are just 1 credit classes. I think I could take all of these and all of these in the same semester and get done a little earlier. Remember, the sequencing of nursing courses in a program are set. You can't adjust those. And so the things that are in black in this example are not movable. These are the only times these courses are offered, and so therefore the only time you can take them. The blue or gen eds do have some flexibility in when you take them, but the black does not. You must take them in order. And so you can see there are some fall classes, spring classes, summer, and then again that final fall to graduate. Any questions about the sequencing or the timing or the schedule itself of the PN program as I've laid it out here? And this is the same on every campus, regardless of Harrisburg or Lancaster or York. So why would you think about HACC's current LPN program, especially if your end goal is to become an RN? Well, we're going to see that there are some differences in terms of the application requirements between LPN and RN. And so some of the students do struggle with the TEAS exam, and the TEAS score in the RN program needs to be higher than in the LPN program initially. So students who are really struggling to get that TEAS score of 70 to apply to the RN program maybe would benefit from considering the LPN program initially. You don't need as high of a TEAS score. And then once you complete the LPN program, you can then take the TEAS, and they, because of that 15 months of LPN education, can significantly increase that TEAS score. And then remember, if you transition into the RN program, there's only 4 nursing courses and 4 gen eds left to finish, so that there is an easy pathway back in to the RN program. And you can do that in as short as 10 months after the PN graduation. So you could graduate in fall of 2024, return to the RN program, and finish your RN in 10 more months. So from beginning to end, it would only take you roughly about an extra semester and a half to finish the RN versus the LPN to RN versus just the RN by itself. So it's a very good option for some of those students that just aren't sure about nursing or aren't sure about the RN program or are having difficulty getting into the RN program. It gives a good pathway for students to get then back into the RN program and finish. When you do finish the LPN program, again, as I said, there's a couple of gen eds that are left to finish, and you're going to see here that in blue again, you have the English 102, the second anatomy and physiology, a math course, and an elective. Those are the 4 gen eds that the RN program requires that the LPN does not. And then here are the offerings for those last 4 nursing courses. So these are the last 4 nursing courses you would take. So the 4 gen eds and the 4 nursing courses. Now, this is an example where you return in the fall semester and then you take it again in the spring. But there is, as I said, an option where you can return in March of 2024, or in this particular example, it would be March of 2025, and you could be done as early as October. So 10 months after graduation, and you could finish your 4 nursing courses. So just, again, a way to transition from LPN into RN and finish quickly for that RN program. What about LPNs from the old program? Because we did have a different program from 2019 and earlier. I just want to point out that if you are a current LPN, you do have the opportunity to still gain some credit for your LPN knowledge. So there's an opportunity to test out of courses. As you can see here, there are 5 courses that you're given the opportunity to test out of. And then there are also 2 courses, the skills courses, 140 and 141, that you receive automatic credit for. So ultimately, you will have the opportunity to potentially miss 7 of these nursing courses as a current LPN. So even if you have graduated from a previous LPN program, or are an LPN from HACC or somewhere else, you can still become an RN at HACC and gain some advanced standing and get some credits out of the way so that you don't have to take as much as a brand new student would. Any questions about the LPN program at all before I move on to the RN? And you guys are either sleeping or I'm doing a fabulous job here. We'll go with the fabulous job. Registered nursing. So the RN program at HACC, again, as a reminder, RNs have a little bit higher scope of practice. They're able to do a little bit more. They do work within a variety of healthcare settings. They can work in schools. You can work as an RN and never work directly with patients at all. In direct care, you could be working for an insurance company and just fielding phone calls all day. You could be working in a phone triage center for a doctor's office or something like that. So there are a variety of positions within registered nursing. And then obviously education is another direction you can go as well. New grads do typically work rotating shifts. They could have weekends or nights, holidays, and all of that. Current graduates are probably earning somewhere in the neighborhood of $70,000 or more. That all depends upon where you work and the hours you work. And there's often shift differential for evening and night work, a couple extra dollars an hour. You can see here by furthering your education, you can easily be earning in excess of $100,000 a year or more, depending on what field you go into as an advanced practice RN. Again, why choose HACC's RN program? Well, we are the largest nursing program in the state of Pennsylvania. That may seem strange when you think of all of the colleges and all of the programs that might be in Pennsylvania across, Pittsburgh area, Philadelphia area, everywhere. But HACC is the largest nursing program in the state. And not only are we the largest, but we are I would say at least locally for sure, the most sought after graduates. I went to HACC as a student, so I graduated from the HACC RN program. I'm now back to teach in it, and I direct the Harrisburg campus. And I know from work experience and from being out in the area that our area hospitals want HACC grads, and they will often choose and hire a HACC grad over a bachelor's prepared nurse from Messiah University or York College or something like that because of the quality of the nurse that we put out. So there is something about being a HACC graduate that will yield a lifetime of certainly local respect as it relates to your education. We do have consistently high NCLEX RN pass rates. Recently, because of COVID, when pass rates dropped pretty significantly across the state, we, comparatively speaking, again, even compared to bachelor level programs, stayed well above where a lot of our compatriots dropped to. So we are still consistently high in our NCLEX pass rates. And obviously, locally, a lot of our nursing leaders, including chief nursing officers and other nurse managers and so on, are HACC grads. So they know the program, they know the type of nurse that we are educating, and you will easily find yourself well prepared for practice as you go out. So the time commitment. Now we're going to look at each individual program a little closer. Remember, when you apply, you are applying for a particular program, and I will explain that when I go over the application, but you're applying for a program. And so if you are applying for and then accepted into the 4-semester traditional program, it does take 4 semesters, but there are no summer nursing courses in this program. This is a fall spring semester only. So there are 4 semesters, either a fall spring, or if you start in the spring, a spring, fall, but there is no nursing courses you will take in the summers. Classes are typically about 2 days a week in this program. And then clinical is 2 days a week as well. Now, I'm speaking just for the Harrisburg campus now as an example of how this falls. Realize that different campuses may have class days and clinical on different days of the week. But as a general rule on the Harrisburg campus, in the early semesters, class is on a Monday and a Wednesday, and our clinical days tend to be Tuesday and Thursday. So you would have a Monday class, Tuesday clinical, Wednesday class, Thursday clinical, and then have off on Fridays, as an example. In the last semester, which is where I teach and the ladies that are here are, it's a Tuesday clinical, Wednesday class, Thursday clinical, Friday class. So Tuesday to Friday with nothing on Mondays. So again, you can see that it's 4 days a week, 2 days a week of class, 2 days a week of clinical. The class times in the traditional program are always during the daytime. Okay, so typically between 8 and 4. Clinical, however, could be a day rotation or an evening rotation. All right, so you will not be given all day rotations, nor will you be given all evening rotations throughout your courses. Because of the size of the program, the availability of clinical sites at different hospitals, we can't guarantee an all day or an all evening experience in clinical in the traditional program. It will be a mix of both day and evening clinical throughout your semesters. So I just want you to be aware that it is not a day only program. It is day in terms of the class schedule, but it is day and evening as it relates to the clinical schedule. Again, here's a table that shows that sequencing. So the next time we are accepting into the 4-semester traditional program is for fall start. Prior to fall, you need to have successfully finished Biology 121, as we mentioned. And then these black nursing courses are not transferable as it relates to the 4-semester traditional program. If you are started in the 4-semester traditional program this fall, these black courses are the sequence of when you will take them. Fall, you will take these 5 courses. Spring, again, that following fall, and you will graduate in May of 2025 with your RN degree. The pink gen eds can fall in a variety of spots. Again, notice that your summers are free in the 4-semester traditional program, and you actually have 2 summers when you start in fall. So you could do the summer before you start and get some of these gen eds done, or you could do the summer of 2024 to get some of these gen eds done because you're not taking other nursing courses. If you have all your gen eds done already, you obviously would just be free these summers. You would not have any courses to take. Now, just note that some of these have a little asterisk, and that has to do with the prerequisite. So they each have a time that they need to be finished. Your Biology 122, which is A and P2, has to be done before you take your Nursing 240 level courses. So obviously you could take it in the fall semester, the spring semester, or the summer 2024 semester, but it would have to be finished before you entered fall of 24. And Biology 221, which is microbiology, has to be finished prior to taking Nursing 250. Okay, so again, just some prerequisites to keep in mind as you're thinking about your schedule and how all of that may flow forward. Okay. Questions about that layout or sequencing or schedule at all? The 2 ladies that are with us currently are in the traditional program. They had a very similar layout to this. They would have started in fall of 2021, and they would have done fall and spring, and they would be finishing in spring of 2023. So if you have any questions about how this actually looks, these ladies are the ones that actually lived this schedule. We're all okay? So I mentioned the 8-semester day program. This is offered only at the York campus. It has day classes during the week, okay? And it has day clinical experiences every other week. So it is truly a day program in that everything gets finished during the day hours. So it is a combination of day classes during the week and clinical experiences on the weekend. It takes 8 consecutive summer semesters. All right, and it is offered again only at the York campus. So this is not something that is offered anywhere else, just at the York campus. Now, the 8-semester evening option is offered at all 4 campuses. It does also include summers, and it is similar in that it usually has about 1 day a week of class per week and 1 day a week of clinical per week. But because it is an evening program only, class will not start before 4 p.m. and clinical will not start before 4 p.m. So it is truly an evening only program, and it does not use weekends. So everything will be done during the days of Monday to Friday during the evening hours. So this may be an option for some of you that have childcare responsibilities or work responsibilities during the daytime, but you can commit to an evening a week of class and an evening a week of clinical. So it has a little less meeting days per week, and that's why it takes 8 semesters versus 4 semesters. So the layout of this is 8 consecutive semesters. So just to give you an example, if you were to start this fall, okay, this would be fall, spring, summer, fall 2024, spring, summer, fall, and spring, finishing in spring of 2025, 3, 4, spring of 2026. Okay, so 8 consecutive semesters, including the summers. Now notice that there is a little bit of a difference. If you remember back to the traditional program, you had 5 courses in the first semester. You had 140, 142, 143, and 141 and 144. All of this was in your first semester. Notice that in the 8-semester program, we split it into 2 separate semesters. So that's why it takes longer, because instead of combining those 5 into 1 semester, you take them over 2 semesters. And here, just like in the 4-semester program, these were combined into 1 semester. They're now split into 2 separate semesters. So the difference in the 8-semester is that it takes a little longer, but you're only taking 1 or 2 courses at a time generally, as opposed to sometimes up to 5. So that's why it takes longer. It's a little slower of a program, which does fit some students' learning needs also. There's no difference in the requirements of when these courses need to be done. Again, you have to have finished Biology 121 before you take any nursing courses. If you're accepted into the 8-semester evening program, these black courses are not movable. As I've said, they're always going to unfold this way. Now, what I do want you to hear very carefully in this 8-semester program, in order to meet federal financial aid requirements, a student must have at least 6 credits per semester to qualify for part-time financial aid. So to qualify for any financial aid at all, you have to be taking 6 credits or more. Now, when you look at these courses in black, notice that they do not ever add up to 6. There's 5, there's 4 and 5 and 4.5 and so on. So just taking your nursing courses in a semester will not lead you to qualify for part-time financial aid. If you require financial aid to pay for your nursing program, and you have most or all of your gen eds already finished, this is not an ideal program for you, because you will struggle to get 6 credits in a semester. And again, if you can't get 6 credits in a semester, the federal government will not offer you part-time financial aid. So this is a program to save your gen eds until the semester. So you take your gen eds with your nursing courses so that you always add up to at least 6 credits. Now, it doesn't have to unfold exactly this way. You can move these around, but you would ideally want to put a gen ed in with each semester so that you meet part-time financial aid requirements. Now, obviously, if you don't require financial aid, if you're paying out of pocket or your employer's paying, or you have some other way of doing this, then that financial aid piece doesn't matter to you. But if it is something that's important, you need to save gen eds in the 8-semester evening program so that you can meet part-time financial aid requirements. Any questions about the 8-semester programs before I jump ahead to the weekend? Harrisburg only offers a 4-semester weekend program, okay? This has class 1 day a week, and it has clinical during the weekend. So class in the fall and spring semesters fall on a Friday, okay? Because the college is closed on Fridays in the summer, class falls on Thursday because we can't have it on Friday. So Fridays in fall and spring, Thursdays in the summer. Clinical falls on the weekends, Saturdays or Sundays, and in some of your semesters, particularly starting in the summer semester, it falls on both a Saturday and a Sunday. Class, because it's all on a Friday or all on a Thursday, can be quite long. You will generally have 3 or 4 hours in the morning, let's say from like 8:30 to 11:30. Then you'll have an hour lunch break from 11:30 to 12:30, and then you'll have class in the afternoon again from like 12:30 to 3:30. So it is a long, potentially 7-8 hour day, but you do get a lunch break. But you're going to be here on campus on those Fridays or those Thursdays in the summer, potentially for 6 to 8 hours. Clinical can be anywhere between 6:30 a.m. and 10 p.m. Again, it is a day or an evening rotation. And these clinical days can be longer to get the hours in on the weekend. So it could be as little as 7 hours in some courses. And we do have some students going for 10 hours or so on clinical also. So these are a little bit longer clinical days than our other programs. Here's a breakdown of this. We only start the weekend program in the fall semester. So this coming fall is the next time to enter it. You have to have your Biology 121 finished. You enter, and again, you'll take 5 nursing courses in the fall, 2 in the spring. Now notice the difference from the other 4-semester program. We do use the summer in this program. So in the summer, you'll take these courses and then finishing out in fall of 2024 with your last courses. So you will start in fall of 23, graduate in December of 24. It mirrors timing wise the PN program, right? A fall, spring, summer, fall. The only difference is instead of taking PN classes, you're taking RN classes, and you're finishing in 15 consecutive months. Any questions about the breakdown of the weekend program at all? So in terms of how much all of this costs, I'm not going to go out to this, but this is a direct link to the RN and PN costs. It does a really good job of breaking down tuition, clinical fees, program fees, things like uniforms and all the other stuff, books and things you might buy for this course. So in terms of the actual costs, this link is a very good estimate of how much cost you, depending on your gen eds you've already finished and other things. Obviously, the cost could vary a little bit for you, but this would give you a pretty good idea of what you're getting into for cost by going out to this link. So I would encourage you to just use that in the PowerPoint that Ms. Shirk sent you. So we do utilize computerized testing within the program. Because the NCLEX, which is your licensure exam, is an online computerized test, we do our very best to prepare you for that. So all of the testing you will do in the HACC nursing program is not paper and pencil, it is computerized based. And so because of that, it is a requirement that all students entering HACC's nursing programs, either the RN or the PN, have access to a laptop computer that they can bring to campus for testing. Okay, we don't currently have laptops for you to borrow for testing. You will have to have your own. The HACC bookstore does sell laptop computers to students at a discounted purchase rate so that you can get them that way. If truly financially speaking, you cannot afford a laptop, financial aid does cover the cost of a laptop as part of your financial aid if you use it. But if that's something you cannot afford, you would have to let one of us directors know and we could see what is possible for you. But all students in nursing programs will need access to a laptop for those computerized tests. That is just simply something that we've moved to because of COVID era, now transitioning back onto campus. We are continuing with computer-based testing in all of our courses. Any questions about anything I've covered up to this point? Ladies, Daisy, Elizabeth, anything to add about anything I've shared that you think would be important for them to know?
There are a lot of different ways to like Professor Leap said, to fit in your gen eds and everything. Like Elizabeth and I have done them two very different ways and we're still at the same endpoint. Like I did a summer semester of my gen eds before the traditional program, and then I took one semester off and did just nursing classes. And then I now take, I think, one full semester gen ed with each of my nursing semesters, and it's overall really easy to manage, and the professors are very accommodating to helping you figure out your schedule along with your advisors.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Of my gen eds before I even started the nursing program, so that everything was out of the way and I could just focus on the nursing program.
Yep, and that's another pathway that you guys can choose to go to. Just remember that in the evening program, that won't lead you to financial aid, but most of the other programs, because of the amount of credits you're taking just in nursing, that works out just fine. So that is another option, is to get everything out of the way ahead of time if you would like. Okay, so what I'm going to cover now for just a few minutes are the requirements for admission for each of the different areas, PN and RN, so you can kind of see what it takes to get into these programs. Either program, PN or RN, you need to take the TEAS exam. You've probably heard of the TEAS by this point. If not, there is a wealth of information at this link right here. You just click on it and it takes you out to the TEAS page. But there is a lot of information. The TEAS is a computer-based test that tests basic reading, math, science, and English language usage. It is a multiple choice test. It has 170 questions on it, and it is a time-based test. I believe it's 209 minutes, I think they give you for the TEAS exam. For the RN program, and we're going to look at this in a little more detail, but it's graded on a percentage scale. You need a 70% or a 70 on the TEAS or better to qualify for RN application. You cannot apply to the RN program without a TEAS score of 70 or higher. The PN requires a TEAS score of 60 or higher. So remember earlier when I said that some students who struggle to get a 70 on TEAS might be a good candidate to enter the PN program, finish the PN program, and then you can work on that higher TEAS score. We do offer it on the HACC campus, although it is not required to take it at HACC. TEAS is a nationalized exam. Many programs use it. Our respiratory therapy program uses it. Our dental hygiene program uses it. So not only nursing, but many health careers across the nation utilize TEAS as an entrance test. You can take it anywhere that you would like. You just need to make sure that the scores are sent to HACC so that we have access to them. If you do take it on a HACC campus, you're going to be able to sign up for either the TEAS for nursing or the TEAS for allied health. Guess what? They are the same exam. It doesn't matter whether you take the nursing or the allied health, they're both the same exam. So it doesn't matter which one you sign up for, you're going to be fine. I'll answer that question in chat in just a second, or one of the ladies from program can answer it if they would like. But I want to point out that the TEAS that we are currently requiring for our fall admission cycle, which is our next admission cycle, the one we're currently in, only version 7 is accepted. They started in 2022 with version 7. For a period of time, we accepted both version 6 or version 7. But as of this coming fall application, which is the one we're currently in, we will only accept TEAS version 7. So if you're going to take the TEAS exam, that it is version 7, okay? You won't be able to use a version 6 score. It will have to be a version 7 score. So HACC does have ATI help that it offers. There's a lot. Everything from, I just cut and pasted this picture here, but you can see that they have workshops that they do, and there's meeting dates that you can join a TEAS study group, talk about general information or reading or math or science. You can get help with tutoring for any of these areas. There are TEAS resources otherwise. So I would highly encourage you as a HACC student to reach out to the library, click on this link, and see what is out there to help you score well on the TEAS exam. We want you to do well on it. Your TEAS scores are good for 3 years. And when you apply, we will use the highest TEAS score that you have at the time of application. So not the newest, but the highest at the time of application. So Bryn, you asked, are the clinical classes in the first 2 semesters of the RN? And the answer is yes, we do have clinical classes every semester during the program. And you do need to be 18 years of age to be in the nursing program. I'm going to show you that here in just a second. So when can I apply? Well, you can apply if you are already graduated or will graduate high school before starting clinicals. Okay, so that's a time for application. You have to be, and this is to answer your question, but you have to be 18 to start clinicals. That is an OSHA federal mandate. We don't have a way around that. So because you are going to be working and caring for people in the job of a nurse, you must be 18 based upon the federal government requirements to be in clinical, okay? So you can't, if by fall you are not going to be 18 years of age, this won't be the semester you'll be able to start. Did you complete or will you complete Biology 121 by the start of nursing courses? So you either have to have already finished it or have a plan to finish it before fall in order to apply. Your T-score of 60 for the PN program needs to be in place, and you have to have an overall HACC GPA of 2.5 or higher. All right, so that is the requirement to apply, an overall HACC GPA of 2.5 or higher. If you're transferring from another program, you do need to be coming in good standing, which means we might ask for a good standing letter that just says that, you know, you weren't kicked out of the other program because of an ethics violation or something like that. If you've answered yes to all the questions, you're ready to fill out the PN application. When you apply, you are going to be competing for a seat based upon your score, your total points. And I'll explain how that works a little bit later. But in the PN program, you will have a T-score of 60 to 100. And then you will have maybe some additional points that we will give you. These points are based upon your highest education achieved. You can see that if you're an EMT, right, or a paramedic or something like that, you may get additional points. Obviously, you wouldn't have already a current LPN license in this case because you're going into the PN program, but you might have an associate's degree or even a bachelor's degree. We don't cumulatively add all of these points up. Whatever the highest point is you earn in this section is what you will get credit for. So if your highest points are a bachelor's degree, but you also are a paramedic, you won't earn 6 points, you'll only earn the 4 for the bachelor's degree. So the max amount of points you can compete with is 105. A perfect score on T's plus the 5 points in this case for the master's degree. So that would be your highest point total possible. All right. Now, please note this note because it's going to be on the RN page as well. You may only submit one PN application. What I mean by that is the applications for fall are currently open. They opened around April 1st and they're going to close in the middle of May to the end of May. So anytime in that time frame, you can fill out an application for the PN program or the RN program or both. However, once you have completed and submitted the application, let's say for the PN program, that's the only application you can fill out for fall. So the reason for that is, the reason that's important is, let's say you apply today and you have a T-score of 62. So you meet the requirements to apply for the PN program. But then after a while, you start to think, wait a second, my score of 62 isn't very high. What if I don't get in? What if I need more points to get in? So then you go out and you retake the T's and you score a 67. And you think, great, now I have a 67. I'm going to go back in and fill out a new application with my 67 score. You can't. When you submit your first application, we will take the highest T score at that application, and you will not be allowed to submit a second application. So when you go out to fill out that application, please make sure it is the application you are ready to submit with the highest T score that you are comfortable submitting. You won't have an opportunity to retake the T's and earn higher points after you have submitted that application. Okay, so just remember, one application for the PN program and one application for the RN program per admission cycle. So you've applied to the PN program and you've been accepted. Here's some things to keep in mind. You have to maintain a 2.5 or higher GPA. So let's say you applied this spring and then you've got a couple summer courses in the works. If you do poorly in those summer courses and your GPA drops below 2.5, you will not start in fall. Your GPA has to remain above 2.5 until the fall semester start in order to continue with the nursing courses in fall. You have to be through your developmental English. So if you're not ready to register for college level English, you won't be able to start in fall. you'll have to have tested into a math or completed Math 080 or above. So the math requirement for the PN program is to place beyond Math 080, which is a developmental math. Again, you have to have successfully finished Biology 121 by the time fall comes around. And if the answer to all of those questions isn't a yes, unfortunately, you will forfeit your admission for the fall semester and you'll need to reapply during another cycle. Okay, so pay particular attention to you, especially your GPA and that biology class, that you get them finished successfully. Okay. RN requirements are very, very similar to the PN, except notice that the T-score is a 70 on the RN instead of a 60, but all of the other requirements are the same. Okay. So we want to make sure that you have that minimum criteria met. Again, the point system is the same with the exception that with the RN, it's going to be 70 to 100 instead of 60 to 100. And you will get any additional points earned just like in the LPN program. So the highest point total you can compete with is 105, just like in the PN. Same thing here. You need to have the HACC GPA of 2.5 or higher by fall. You need to have now in the RN program placed beyond all developmental math and English. So not just the developmental English, but you have to have passed all of your developmental math as well. And again, if your answer isn't a yes to all of those, then you would unfortunately forfeit your admission and need to reapply during a later cycle. There is an RN guaranteed acceptance. If you meet the following criteria, which is essentially all the criteria we just said, and you have a T-score of 88 or greater, we will offer you a guaranteed spot in the fall in whatever program, whatever campus you want to attend. So if it's the weekend program at Harrisburg and you meet this criteria, you will get the Harrisburg weekend program. If it's the Lancaster 4-semester traditional, it's guaranteed. So instead of competing for a spot, you will be guaranteed that campus and program if you meet this criteria. Any question about that before I go into the actual, just some things to keep in mind about the application?
Hi, Mark. Richard Wong.
Yes, sir.
About the guaranteed admissions.
Yes.
So I'm currently enrolled in 121. So I have to wait until the end of this month when the class is over to apply. Is that correct?
If you want the guaranteed admission, as you note here, it needs to be finished by the time of application. Now, the good news is you should have the course finished and you will know because the application stays open, I believe, until May 15th. So you will have an opportunity to apply after Biology 121 is finished. But officially, yes, you would need to have that done.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Another question in chat. Let me just take a look. So, Bryn, you say, can you take any non-clinical nursing classes without being in the nursing program? You can't take any of the courses that start with an NURS or a PNUR, a PNUR. So anything that is an official nursing class, you cannot take until you are 18 years of age. So preparing for application, these are some dates or some deadlines. So fall of 2023, you can see here, these are the programs that are starting this fall. The 4-semester traditional program is beginning on the Harrisburg, the Lancaster, and the Gettysburg program. In addition, of course, is the 4-semester weekend program that we mentioned as well. So these are all starting this fall. This fall, we are also enrolling an 8-semester evening option at Lancaster and Gettysburg. Harrisburg does not start their option until spring. So the next time we will be enrolling in evening option program is spring of 24. But Lancaster and Gettysburg do enroll this fall. And then all 3 campuses that offer a PN program are starting one this fall. So you can see that we are starting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 separate nursing cohorts or nursing programs this fall. All of these are starting this fall. Applications open around April 1st, so already open. The RN closes on May 14th. They have discussed maybe extending that just a little bit, as that should say 2023. I apologize for not updating that date. So closing around May 14th or 15th, 2023 right now. They may extend that, and if they do, a separate email will be sent to you to indicate that. But on May 15th, I believe, for right now, being the closing point of that. Applications PN, notice close a little later. Here's the rationale for that. You will be notified by May 19th if you got into the RN program or not. If you did not get into the RN program, we still have the PN program application open so that you can go and apply to the PN if you're interested in that. And again, finish the PN program and then transition back into the RN. So we leave that PN open a little bit longer for those students that might be interested in the PN if they were not successful in getting in the PN. Okay, you do need to take the T's, and again, I apologize, I missed this slide, but that should say 2023. The T's cutoff does end about 2 days prior to the application ending because we need to have access to those scores in order to properly process your application. You take the T scores or T's test before the end in order to make sure that there is access to those things. I'm just seeing the chat and I'm taking a second. So yeah, Elizabeth's answer is perfect to Tammy. You want to have taken the T's before application. Okay, that's a great answer. Thank you, Elizabeth. All right, spring. This is another cycle. So this is all true for this fall, but maybe you're not thinking that you're quite ready yet for fall application. Well, the spring is coming around the corner sooner than you can believe. I did update this one. And you can see here that in the spring 2024, the 4 semester traditional programs are starting at Harrisburg, Lancaster, and there is no weekend enrollment for spring. But the RN 8 semester programs are starting at Harrisburg and Lancaster. So we do have a couple evening programs starting in as well. No PN because the PNs only start in fall. So notice in the spring, we only have 5 different programs starting versus the fall where we have 9. So a lot more nursing students start in the fall than they do in the spring. Applications will open for spring around August 1st, and they will close around September 25th. And again, the cutoff is a couple of days before that in order to be sure that the scores are in. So you can see that there's a window of time that you will have to apply for the start to this nursing program. Then for the summer, I know that's way out there next summer, but what I want to point out is that the York campus only begins their programs in summer. They're the only campus that has a summer start to their programs. And they will open around January 15th and close around March 14th, 2024. The reason I don't have this for 2023 is that this has already finished. The programs have been selected for this summer and the applications are now closed for this summer. So that's why this is summer of 2024. It's too late to apply to York for this summer. We are now currently in the fall application cycle. So make sure you apply by the deadline. Again, if the deadline changes for some reason where we extend it a little bit longer than usual, an email will come. It will never be sooner than that date, but we may allow it to stay open a little longer. This is a direct link to the RN page or the PN page where you can find the application. So you want to click here if you would like, okay? Make sure that you hit submit at the end of the application. And once you do, you should receive a confirmation. If you don't receive the confirmation that you successfully completed the application, just follow up with your advisor, or you can follow up with me. I'll make sure you have my email address at the end so that you can reach out to me as well, and we can make sure that your application was submitted successfully. All right. Now, what I want to quickly cover is what I really and truly consider to be one of the crucial pieces of this presentation, which is the importance of how you fill out the application. This is something students unfortunately mix up a lot, and it can sometimes make the difference between getting into a nursing program or not getting into a nursing program. So I want you to just hear this for the next couple minutes and make sure that it makes sense to you, okay? So what's going to happen is you are going to go in somewhere between now and May 15th if you're applying for fall, and you're going to complete an application. You're going to need to make sure your TEAS is finished, as was already mentioned, and that you're satisfied with your T-score, because remember, once you apply, that is locked in. And so whatever the highest T-score is by that application is the one you will use. The way this works is when it comes time to select students for the programs, when you complete this application, there is one application for every campus and every program that is enrolling this fall, one for the RN, one for the PN. So what happens is you go into the application and you are going to complete as one of the questions, what campus and what program are you interested in attending? So that's the question where you are telling us, this is where I want to go, and this is the program I want to join to finish my RN. I want to join the 4-semester weekend program at Harrisburg. I want to join the 8-semester evening program at Lancaster. I want to join the 8-semester evening program at Gettysburg. You are telling us this is the campus and the program that I want to join. And whatever your highest priority is, you make that number 1. Now you can assign a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth priority choice, all the way down to as many as are on the list. So you could list from 1 to potentially like 10 in priority. If there is a campus or a program that you are not interested in attending, simply don't make it a number. Just leave it as a non-selection, and we will not consider you for that campus or that program. So if you live in, Upper Dauphin and you don't want to drive to Lancaster to go to clinical, that's okay. We're not going to make you drive to Lancaster to go to clinical. If you don't make Lancaster an option, we will never select you for Lancaster, okay? So you are telling us, this is my first priority, this is my second priority, this is my third priority, and so on. Here's why that's so important, okay? I'll mention alternate again here in a second, but you're going to see alternate as a choice. So not just Harrisburg weekend, but you'll also see Harrisburg weekend alternate as an option. I'm going to explain what that means in a second. So let's just use this example. All right, you're filling out your application and you make some selections. The way that we assign students to these programs is once applications are closed, we run a report and we list students from highest points to lowest points. Remember, your T-score plus any additional education could lead to a theoretic highest point of 105. So we just make a list from 105 all the way down to the lowest score, which would theoretically be a 70, right? Because you can't apply with anything less than a 70. However many names are on that list, that's the students that applied and successfully met application requirements. So then we start at the top of the list. And we have an expected number already for how many we can take into each program. So on the Harrisburg campus, for the 4-semester traditional program, I can take 64 students. So that's my set limit. In the weekend option program, I can take 24 students. Gettysburg has their number set. So we know how many we can take. And it's basically just a list that we fill up. So let's use the example of the Harrisburg weekend program. We start at the top of the list at the highest points, and we look to see what their number one priority was. For the sake of this example, we're going to say nobody has guaranteed admission. So everybody is competing for a spot. Highest spot, 105 points. Somebody got a perfect T-score, and they have a master's degree, and we look at where they want to go. And they say they want to go to the Harrisburg 4-semester weekend program. Well, I've got 24 spots and nobody's filled them, so that's where they're going. Then I look at the second person on the list. Where was their priority? Oh, they wanted to go to the Harrisburg traditional program. Well, okay, I've got 64 spots and none are filled, so that person goes to that list. And then we just start working our way down through the list, slotting people to their priority choices. Okay. What happens at some point is we get to a person on that list whose priority choice is full because it's already been taken up by the 24 or the 64 people above them that wanted the same spot. So when we hit that person whose first choice is full, we look at their second priority. And if there is space in their second priority choice, that's where they go. What if their second choice is full? We look at their third choice, and that's where they go. What if they don't have a third choice? Then they don't get in because they've only had 2 choices and both are full when we get to their name. So I have nowhere to place them. So they don't get in, and I go down to the next person on the list. What was their first choice? Well, if their first choice was another campus that has space, that person gets in. This is how students sometimes hear, well, so-and-so got into the program and they had a lower T-score than I did. It has to do with the selections you made in the application. Yes, people below you may get in and you don't. That's because they chose a campus and a program that still had space in it when we got to their name. That's why your selections are so important. If it is a campus and a program that you are at all interested in attending and would be willing to attend, you should make it a choice. It will increase your chance of getting into clinicals dramatically. If it is not a campus or a program that you want to attend, please don't put it on the list because you might get chosen for it. All right. So here's where alternate comes in, because remember I mentioned alternate. When you fill out the application, you're going to see not only Harrisburg 4-semester weekend, but you're also going to see Harrisburg 4-semester weekend alternate. Alternate is a choice on the application. What it means is we have a list of, let's say for the weekend program, 4 students on an alternate list. And the alternate list is a waiting list. If a student of one of those 24 cannot start in fall, maybe their GPA drops, maybe they don't finish biology 121 successfully, maybe they suddenly have to move, or for some other reason don't want to start in the fall. They come off of my list of 24, Then I go to the alternate list and I say, who's at the top of the alternate list? I'm going to offer them the spot. And if they want the spot, it's theirs. What happens if none of the 24 drop off the list? Then none of the alternates get in. So the alternate is a selectable choice. You can make an alternate be a priority choice. What you need to consider is how important is that program and that campus to you. If it is so important to you that you would rather be on a waiting list than in an actual clinical placement, make that alternate choice a higher priority. But if getting into an actual clinical program is more important than being on a waiting list, then you want to rank those alternates a little bit lower on the list. I still think you should choose them because it at least gives you the opportunity to be on a waiting list. But if there's a spot on the alternate list and that's your next priority, I'm putting you on the alternate list above an actual clinical program if that's number 3. So if number 1 was weekend and it's full, and number 2 is weekend alternate, and I don't have any alternates, you're going on the alternate list. Even if number 3 was 4-semester traditional, and I still had space in the 4-semester traditional. The only way you're going to an actual clinical program is to make that a higher priority than the alternate. So make sure you think about your choices. We follow what you say. Because of the number of applicants, because of how many we have to go through, we do not call you on selection day to confirm your choices. Whatever you tell us is what we will go with. And I will tell you that I've seen some unfortunate choices. One year, a girl had like 84 points, and she chose only an alternate as her list, as her choice, just an alternate. So guess where she went with 84 points? On the alternate list, not in the actual program. So please take your choices seriously, because it could be the difference between getting in or not getting into a program in the fall. Okay, so some important reminders. What happens if you do get selected? Because when we send out these emails, if you are selected, the email will specifically say, congratulations, you have been selected for the Harrisburg campus 4-semester weekend program, or the Lancaster 4-semester program, whatever campus and program you're being selected for. That's what we are offering to you based on your choices and where you were on the list. When you get that email or that letter, you have 2 choices. If it's not the campus and program that was your first choice, you now have an option. You can either decline that seat, which is your right. If you decline that seat, it will probably be offered to somebody else, and you will not start in fall. That is your one and only selection for fall. If you decline the seat, it'll go to somebody else and you'll have to reapply for the spring semester. Or you can take the seat that you have been offered, even if it's not your first choice, and you can attend for 1 semester at that campus and program. And then you can seek transfer within the program to another campus or program. And if there is space to transfer you into that campus and program after that first semester, you can transfer and then maybe move to the campus and program you really wanted to be at. But you have to have attended successfully 1 semester at the campus you were selected for. Okay, so those are your 2 options. Say no thank you and reapply for another semester, or take this seat with the hope of transferring somewhere else. So please make sure that you think hard about your choices. Any questions about that application and that piece of the application? Does that make sense? Okay, so you can see on here the dates of when those letters will come out to tell you whether you've been accepted or not. You'll get an acceptance or a declined email either way. you will automatically get a response of yes or no. And if it's a yes, we'll tell you the campus and the program you've been selected for. So here are the dates for each of those. Notice they're only a couple days after applications end. So we're able to get that turnaround pretty quickly. All right, what we're going to wrap up with then is program requirements. So what are some things to think about? Well, there are yearly background checks that need to be completed. 3 clearances must be done every single year. This is a clinical site requirement. This is not just a HACC requirement. We require it because the clinical agencies require it. Must have on file a PA criminal history records check. That's what used to be known as the PA State Police background check. You need an FBI fingerprint check, and you need a PA child abuse history clearance. Those 3 must be done on a yearly basis. There are some disqualifying criminal history records that will not allow you to start in the nursing program at HACC. If you have any questions about that, you can reach out to myself or one of the other directors, and we can have a private conversation with you about what is on your background check and whether that might be something that would keep you out of the program. There is some more information out on HACC.edu about the prohibitive offense procedure, what those charges might be, so you can look at that yourself as well. There is a physical that gets completed before your first semester. So for this fall, you would have your physical done sometime during the summer, most likely. We'll talk about this during orientation, new student orientation. But you do have to have a record of all of your immunizations, as well as the fact that you have an ability to meet the minimum physical requirements of the program. As far as the COVID vaccination goes, we follow the requirements of our clinical sites. Almost every single one of our clinical sites requires one of 2 things: either a immunized student, meaning you've received at least your initial immunization. As of now, they're not requiring booster shots or anything like that, just the initial immunization, or a HACC approved exemption, either medical or religious. So in order for you to attend clinical at our clinical sites, you will either need to be immunized or have received a HACC approved exemption for the COVID vaccination. There is more information down here in regards to that. If you have questions about how you go about getting a HACC approved exemption or whatever, that's all listed here. But we do follow whatever our facilities ask because we are their guests and they say who can come to their facilities or not. You will have a yearly drug and alcohol clearance that needs to be clean. And then in addition to that, just please note that current college policy, this is HACC policy, because of the discrepancy between state and federal law, no student in a health careers program can be admitted while on medical marijuana. That is not considered currently an approved medication per the college to remain in the health careers program. So you won't have a clean drug screen, even though you have a prescription for medical marijuana. It will not be cleared and you will not be able to remain in the program. So in terms of what you're thinking about as a prospective student, HACC's not the only nursing program locally. There's many, and I know that. What I want you to at least think about is when you're comparing, think about the completion rate, and you can ask the school what their completion rate is. Currently, about 80% of our students complete some program, either PN or RN, within 3 years of starting. For a community college, that is a phenomenal completion rate. For a regular college in general, it's a really good completion rate. Some schools are as low as 50% complete. So the fact that we have 80% of our students complete a program within 3 years is a phenomenal finishing target. NCLEX pass rates right now, as I said, the RN across the state took a pretty significant dip We did not drop below 80%, whereas a lot of our other compatriots did drop below 80%. We're very thankful for that. We're seeing that number come back up again now post-COVID as we return face-to-face. Our PN rate, again, is averaging 93%, although, as I said, our Harrisburg current graduates are sitting at about 99%. HACC's cost is a fraction of other programs. $25,000 total from start to end if you have absolutely nothing when you start. That means no gen eds finish, no equipment, no nothing. You're just starting from scratch. Realize then that if you finish the associate degree program here and want to go on for your bachelor's, most local agencies will pay for your bachelor's. So you can be working as an RN while you are earning money to pay for those programs. Our job placement is, I can't say 100% because inevitably there'll be one person who didn't get a job, but we are 99+% are employed within 6 months. Most of our grads already have jobs. I asked out of curiosity because I teach in the final semester how many of our current students, and I believe it was well over probably 2/3 of the class already had a job lined up ready for graduation. Ease of transition, we have agreements in place with 14 local programs, including Millersville, Harrisburg University, York College, many different programs that allow students to easily work on their bachelor's after finishing, including Drexel and University of Phoenix as well. You can finish your bachelor's after your HACC degree in as little as 12 months to 15 months. It's a really nice transition from HACC's associate degree into a bachelor's degree. These are direct links to some of the things I talked about. So whether it be the RN, the PN, the Ts, or program requirements, you can link directly out to those without any trouble whatsoever. So that's everything I have for you guys. I know we didn't take a break, but I wanted to be sure we got through everything. What questions does anyone have that I didn't get a chance to answer up to this point? Anything for the students that you want to know from a firsthand standpoint?
Hey, Mark, so I got another one for you. So about
Go ahead.
registering for classes.
Yes.
So I looked online for the fall and it actually shows some of the classes already